Welcome into NFL Live. The first full week of training camp across the league has given us plenty to talk about. A quarterback who feels disrespected, a couple running backs who won't practice, and so much more. We're going to dive into all of it. Molly McGrath here with Mina Kimes and Mike Tannenbaum. And we're going to start first with news out of San Francisco as free agent wide receiver Deebo Samuel returns to the Bay Area on a one-year deal. He was a crucial part of the Niners offense for 6 seasons before he was traded to the Commanders last year. He adds depth to a receiver room that's dealing with injuries to Ricky Pearsall and Christian Kirk, of course. And in his 6 previous seasons in San Francisco, Deebo was one of the best in the NFL at extending plays, ranking top 5 in yards after the catch and yards per reception. The 49ers were missing that piece to their receiver game a year ago, ranking 16th in YAC in 2025. So, Mike T, let's start with you. Do you like this signing for San Francisco?
Molly, I love it. I think Deebo is a great complement to what Brock Purdy does well. In his career, Deebo has 3,500 yards run after catch. You alluded to the other graphic as well. And when you think about what Brock Purdy does well, he gets rid of the ball. He's accurate. But last year, he was only 18th in air yards. So getting the ball down the field isn't a strength of his. So when you mention the injuries they have to Kirk and more notably Ricky Pearsall, I think this is smart. This time of year, from a front office perspective, you want to bring in somebody that knows the system, something that Deebo knows well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It makes a lot of sense. Low-cost signing. The yards after the catch are still there, by the way, if you watched him. And I do think that component you just said was missing in the offense last year is a nice complement to the rest of the group. I just wish they had more downfield speed, someone who could separate at the second and third level. Mike Evans at this point will occasionally give you some options on go balls, but he's more of a ball winner, red zone threat. The wide receiver they drafted in the second round, John Stribling, he has really fast straight line speed, but isn't as much of a separator and crafty route runner downfield. I thought Pearsall was that Z receiver that was kind of missing and would be a nice complement to those guys, but losing him really hurts, and I do think that's a component of the offense I wish they had, quite frankly, because the amount of attention paid to the run game, this team faces a ton of stack boxes and single high coverage, does create those opportunities downfield for a receiver.
Yeah, and Samuel adds that depth, but he's not 2021 All-Pro Deebo, so they definitely need a little bit of help in that room. Mike, you mentioned from a front office perspective, putting on your GM hat, the Niners have dealt with their share of injuries the last few seasons, so how do you build enough depth to make sure that that doesn't derail yet another season for them?
Molly, I think it's what they did today, and I think what Mina points out is absolutely correct. It's not ideal. Like, again, you'd like somebody younger and faster, but when you're sitting here on July 31st, this is really what's available, the older veterans. So, to me, this is a great sort of like patch on things. Hopefully, Stribling develops and he can contribute. Maybe Pearsall comes back, but the first thing I thought of, candidly, guys, was when I saw this signing, they must be really worried about Ricky Pearsall's need to go out and sign Deebo Samuel at this point.
Yeah, there's, quote, a lot of concerns surrounding that injury. So that's something we're definitely going to keep an eye on as we look at the 49ers. Now we go to just north of Kansas City, where quarterback Patrick Mahomes' recovery is ahead of schedule, fully participating in all team drills in training camp after suffering a season-ending left knee injury last year. Mahomes says he plans to be ready for their Week 1 divisional matchup against the Broncos. So let's talk about it. Let's bring in Dan Graziano, who's at Chiefs training camp. Graz, what can you tell us about how Patrick Mahomes has looked at camp and kind of their plans for him moving forward?
Yeah, Molly, if you watched him throw today, you would think that nothing ever happened. He looked like old Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he had a laser beam down the middle of the field to rookie receiver Cyrus Allen in coverage that just like blew the crowd away. So, yeah, and a few more like that were right on the money. He looks like a guy that's got a chance to have some success in this league. Of course, he's also wearing a big bulky brace on that left knee, that surgically repaired left knee. And you can see him playing with it and fiddling with it a little bit during practice as he moves around. But he's trying to test it out. He'll roll out to his left and throw off of his left foot. So he's trying to put it through some tests. They haven't had pads on yet. The first time they put pads on in practice here will be Monday. So that'll be another step, him, feeling how that brace feels when he's got everything else on. But I went down after practice and I saw their general manager, Brett Veach, and the first thing he said was, hey, how about our quarterback? So they're excited. They're very happy with where Patrick Mahomes is in his rehab. He spent most of his time here at their facility throughout the offseason, in between celebrity weddings and other things he had to attend. But they're very excited about where he is in his rehab. And while they're not putting any kind of timetable on it, week one certainly does sound like it's realistic.
All right, good stuff. Thanks, Graz. Mike T, looking at what Graziano said, I mean, Mahomes back on the practice field, week one really looking like a serious possibility. How do you find the balance between kind of easing him into action and letting him be the quarterback and the playmaker he's always been?
Yeah, Molly, that's a great question. It's gradual. And the quarterbacks I've been around that have had either ACLs or Achilles tendon injuries on their left side as a right-handed quarterback, it just takes a while. And here's why. That's an exposed leg. And until they're actually hit on that leg, go to the ground and get up, they're really never fully over the injury until that point. So he may be medically cleared. There's reasons to be encouraged. I have no doubt he'll be a great player again, but it is gradual because, again, he has to get hit. He has to go to the ground. And that's only going to happen once we get to the regular season. So I think it's smart to bring him along, but understand that this may not be the same Kansas City Chief offense in the month of September.
Yeah, and he'll need some healthy targets to throw to. Speaking of which, Xavier Worthy returning for a third season in Kansas City. And while he played 3 fewer games, his scrimmage yard rate showed a slight improvement from his rookie year. However, he did not find the end zone like he did in 2024. He was injured. Here's more from Worthy on his performance last season.
Last year was kind of hard to look at because my routes kind of got changed and I couldn't run a lot of things that I would normally run and couldn't run it in a way that I would want to. So I was kind of just looking at it as in what would I do in this situation when I was watching the film. And there was a lot of things that I could have done and could have done better. And obviously I worked at it in the offseason.
So Xavier Worthy playing through that labrum injury all season last year. Mina, we talk about him needing to take that next step, though, now that he's healthy. What can he bring to this Chiefs offense that could make a real difference this season?
They really need Xavier Worthy to be a weapon or at minimum an option against man coverage, because that was something Kansas City really struggled against last year. 10th in yards per pass against zone, which isn't surprising because Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice are both very good against zone, but only 27th against man. 4.7 yards per pass, which is an insane number when Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback. I thought Xavier Worthy in his rookie season, as the year went along, started presenting himself as an option, not just on downfield routes, which we associate with him with the speed, but also like quick outs and option routes against man. And I think, last year was just so derailed. So my hope is that this season with a full
scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Ricky Proehl tells the story of living his dream of catching a touchdown in Super Bowl 36. Proehl details the roller coaster of emotions, from tying the game for the Rams with under 2 minutes to play to watching Adam Vinatieri's game-winning field goal to prevent him from having a true storybook ending.
My name is Ricky Proehl. I played for the St. Louis Rams, and I scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
As a kid growing up playing football, what was the dream scenario that you imagined for yourself?
Catching a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
It is Super Bowl 36 between the American Football Conference champion Patriots and the National Football Conference champion St. Louis Rams. We all know about the explosiveness of this St. Louis offense.
When my moment came, I was ready for my opportunity. It was something that I've dreamed about my whole life.
Never been in overtime in Super Bowl history. This could be a first from the 26th of the Patriots.
They were playing a lot of man coverage. It was a switch go. Isaac was going to pick the guy that was covering me or run interference, so to speak. I was going to go down the sidelines on a fade route.
Warner throws left, wide open.
Remember vividly when I stopped to cut back to go for the end zone, hear one of their players say, "Oh,
Inside the 10-yard line of the 5. Touchdown! Touchdown! St. Louis, St. Louis, Ricky Proehl.
score at the end to tie the game, it's like it's 0-0. We're back in this thing, and so it was awesome.
Ricky Paul raising his right hand in victory.
I was trying to salute the troops, and the guys weren't. I couldn't get my hand up because I was getting tackled by all my teammates. But it's a great feeling to get back in the game.
It ain't over till it's over, baby.
Placement down by Walter. Vinatieri's field goal time for the win is good. And the New England Patriots have won Super Bowl 36.
To be completely honest, something you dream about as a kid, scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowl, but you want it to be the game-winning touchdown, not the tie-in touchdown, then you end up losing. To be a part of the NFL, not just scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowl, but it's a fraternity that I'm proud to be a part of.
Time now to read and react. Starting in New Orleans, where the Saints have been busy building around their offense. Chris Olave is locked in, Travis Etienne now in the mix, and Etienne shared how he plans to complement Alvin Kamara in this offense.
Just the way that he attacked the game. I feel like I kind of just, whenever he's out there doing his reps, I'm kind of always picking at his footwork. I'm always just looking at how he's attacked things and just how he sets his leverage up. And I feel like I can learn a lot of things from him. I ask questions, but also I just kind of just got to, I can watch him, I can see him, I can put my eyes on him. So I feel like that's how I learn best. I ask questions, but I'm also just, anytime he's out there doing like a little drill, I'm kind of just soaking it all in, watching him and seeing what I can take from his game and incorporate in mine.
I love that Etienne is coming home to Louisiana. So excited to see what he can do alongside Alvin Kamara. What do you expect from that 1-2 punch, Mina?
Yeah, an improved run game, which isn't hard, Molly, because it was abysmal last year. Honestly, a credit to both young quarterbacks who played, Rattler and Tyler Shuck, given how bad the run game was. I do think the addition of Travis Etienne will help, but perhaps equally important is improved health and some additions on the offensive line. Saints backs last year averaged just 0.7 yards before contact per carry, tied for the Raiders with dead last in the league. So hopefully they have health. And the addition of David Edwards was one of their big signings as well, in addition to the skill players. I think that's going to help a great deal with that offensive line.
Yeah, and to your point, Mina, the Saints haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher since 2017, so that is just not cutting it for them. So the Saints were able to get some deals done for crucial offensive players, but the Bucs couldn't come to an agreement with quarterback Baker Mayfield. He addressed his contract situation yesterday, and guess what? He didn't hold back.
So disappointing in that regard to not have, to feel disrespected a little bit. And that's really the disappointing part, to feel undervalued after, thinking you've earned it. This is not a poor me thing. There's a lot of other people that have it way worse off. I think I'm a franchise quarterback. I've been told I'm a franchise quarterback. It's been said publicly from ownership down here. And so to not have a deal done is very disappointing. But I said the deadline was the deadline. If you've waited this long to take care of your franchise quarterback, that's too bad, because it's only going to get worse from here. Yeah, I'm going to have a really good year.
Whew. Mike, you don't see that very often, a quarterback kind of calling out his team. You've been in these front offices before. What do you make of those comments from Baker?
Molly, he's been a really good player, a great teammate, but that was a really bad moment for Baker. And let me tell you why. He's burned bridges at Cleveland, Carolina, the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, and now his own team, where he's led them for 3 years, over 95 touchdowns. He's 31 in the prime of his career. He's burned so many bridges that when he leaves after this year, if they don't franchise him, how many teams are actually going to be out there that need a quarterback that will pay over $50 million a year that's not going to draft one? So, look, sometimes negotiations are contentious. We totally understand that. That's why you have an agent, and you keep those thoughts private. All you've done is inflame the situation. And your other audience, Baker, by the way, is the 31 other teams. You don't think other front offices are going to think twice when they see that before thinking about bringing him in?
Yeah, GMs have to be cringing at those comments. But on the other side of the coin, Baker Mayfield has kind of built a career on betting on himself and playing off of perceived disrespect. So we'll see how that turns out for him this season. To Jacksonville now, where Travis Hunter is setting the bar high for year 2, making it a priority to get bigger and stronger this offseason. Take a listen.
I put on 10 pounds. You know, I was a small guy coming in. Everybody like, gain weight, gain weight. Coach is like, hey, play at whatever weight you happy at. So me just coming in and putting on them pounds and being like, I was scared at first. You know, I'm like, dang, I ain't never played this weight. I'm gonna feel heavy. I'm not gonna be able to do what I do. But training and being able to put those months in, not just on the grass, but in the weight room too, just putting in that work, it made me feel lighter on my feet when I finally touched the grass. So I'm just happy to be at this weight and continue to play at this weight.
So Travis Hunter getting stronger so that he can play more snaps on both sides of the ball. Mina, which side of the ball are you most excited to see him play this season?
I'm really excited to watch Travis Hunter be a cornerback primarily this year. And hearing him say that he got stronger is actually really encouraging because I went back and watched his reps. He didn't play a ton of corner last year. And one of the things I thought that could improve was play strength. I thought, however, while on the large, he was very good, very fluid. His recovery speed was excellent. The ball skills were there. Put up a great half against Devontae Adams. And he's surrounded by a sneakily very talented secondary in Jacksonville. So I think with Hunter playing cornerback full-time, focusing on his craft there, they have the potential to be one of the better secondaries in the entire NFL.
It'll be so exciting to see what a healthy Travis Hunter can do. Last year, he became the first player in the last 15 years with 300 offensive snaps and 150 defensive snaps in his.
Able to do what they got to do, and all you can control is what you can control. Is you go out there, you study, you do all the things you need to do to be able to go out there and perform. And if the cars fall where they fall, then that's what you're dealt with at the end of the day.
Tua is very smart. It's obviously cool to have different vets around, and you know he's been in I would say like a running gun offense where they had a lot of motion similar to what we would do in the past, and it's to see how he has somewhat bigger bodies now. It's a good mix for all of us, so it's pretty cool to see how he dissects the game and hear how he thinks about it.
Mike T, it recently came out that Tua Tagovailoa dealing with back tightness. So how do you think this quarterback competition should play out, and how do you kind of evaluate the position with both quarterbacks dealing with injuries?
Yeah, it's certainly not ideal, especially for Tua, who's dealt with injuries his whole career. He's played one complete season, and this was a chance to sort of rebirth his career and start over fresh. Your graphic lays out all the quality depth they have at skill players, and if I was Tua, I would just put a premium on getting healthy, staying flexible, and trying to get through the season playing 17 games. Michael Penix has a world of ability, but unfortunately, going back to Indiana, Washington last year, he's been hurt as well. I think his timetable is going to be a little bit longer. And then and probably does Cooper Rush come into the mix here because he may be, the last man standing, so to speak. So I was disappointed that Tua missed a day of practice. Hopefully that's a small bump in the road because he has a ton of ability with those weapons. You'd really like to see that all come together.
Yeah, I think that barring further setbacks with Tua, he will be the week 1 starter, especially given what we've heard about Michael Penix's timeline with his own injury. But also I think because he is on paper a better fit for Kevin Stefanski's offense. Mike T talked about the playmakers. They're going to want that ball to come out fast and get in the hands of Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. Let them go to work. Tua has that quick release. He will give them an opportunity to make plays. Now, that said, he has to cut down on turnovers. That was probably the most concerning thing watching him last year, just forcing some balls, making bad decisions. Defenses will over-index to packing the middle of the field because of his tendencies and weakness throwing deep and outside the numbers, but he can't force it in spite of that. So I think protecting the football is paramount because in this offense with this team, they're not asking the quarterback to be a hero, but more so a facilitator.
Yeah, Mina, Tua has to cut back on turnovers and sacks. He was sacked a career-high 30 times last season. That's not going to keep him healthy. All right, we're checking in at Falcons camp, and look who's there, our very own Laura Rutledge. She looks so cute. She's going to be on our Back Together weekend coverage starting Saturday at 9 Eastern on ESPN and NFL Network. You do not want to miss it. Oh, I love that. All right, let's check in on some more teams getting to work across the league. In Green Bay, expectations are high as Jordan Love and the Packers look to take that next leap. A key piece of that offense is tight end Tucker Kraft, who's been working back from a torn ACL suffered last November. Kraft met with the media today after being removed from the PUP list. Take a listen.
I'm just worried about getting back to who I was pre-injury. I had a great meeting this morning with the guys from the Badger Lab, Dr. Hendershot. He told me, my knee looks spectacular, almost like he had never seen a rehabilitation like mine. So I'll just get phased in period by period until you guys see me out there taking team reps. So that's the goal. We're on that ramp-up phase right now to get ready for week 1.
We're now joined by our very own Packers reporter, Rob Domofsky. Rob, we just heard some really good news for Green Bay's offense. What more can you tell us about what's going on there at camp?
Molly, the early training camp practices here in Green Bay have offered a glimpse at what the Packers hope their stripped-down offense will look like. Quarterback Jordan Love is focused mainly on throwing to Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, and Matthew Golden. On Friday, it was Golden who was the star of the receiving corps, making a couple of spectacular contested catches. It's all part of their less is more approach. Instead of having to keep so many receivers happy like they did last year, they're thinking it could be easier to target their top players. Throw in tight end Tucker Kraft, who just came off the PUP list on Friday and will be eased back into practice slowly. And it's no wonder quarterback Jordan Love said the best part is we've all played a lot of ball together. As for Micah Parsons, their star pass rusher, well, he remains on PUP and probably will be there to start the season. But he's been active in practice, both on the sidelines and even running sprints with the defensive linemen after practice.
Thanks, Rob. To your point, Jordan Love had no problem sharing the ball last season. The Packers had 7 different receivers with at least 250 receiving yards, tied for most in the NFL. And while his top target is now in Foxborough, 5 of the 7 names on the list are back this season. So, Mina, you heard Rob's report from Packers camp. How big is Tucker Kraft's return for their offense?
It's massive. I mean, he was 3rd on that list and only played half of the dang season. In fact, at the midpoint when he went out, he was averaging 10.8 yards after catch per reception, which obviously led all tight ends. He was an automatic first down. I think Tucker Kraft has the potential to be a top 3 tight end in this league continuously year after year. He is so important to that offense because the emphasis on running the football, play action, and having him back week 1 to me is a godsend because you talk about the receiver losses, but getting him back I think is a bigger deal than any of those losses.
All right, we continue our camp check-in as we head to Latrobe, Pennsylvania, where the Steelers are on the practice field, and a familiar partnership is getting a fresh start. We love that. Aaron Rodgers, Mike McCarthy, back together again, and with a revamped offense around them, the Steelers are hoping this reunion can help push the team forward. Brooke Pryor now joining us from Steelers camp. Brooke, what are your early impressions of Mike McCarthy's offense through 3 days of camp?
Molly, if the first 3 days of Steelers training camp are any indication, we are going to be seeing Aaron Rodgers connecting with DK Metcalf early and often. The Steelers ended their practice Thursday with Rodgers hitting Metcalf for a deep touchdown. Metcalf made the grab, a contested catch over rookie Dalen Everett, a little bit of a welcome to the league rookie type of moment. And then on Friday, they opened up their up-tempo, essentially walk-through practice, as Mike McCarthy called it, a mock game with Rodgers again finding Metcalf in the end zone. Now, one of the reasons for their relationship being so close this year is not only that they played together last year, but also that they had more time together in the offseason. Metcalf specifically mentioned that the two of them were at several OTA sessions together, and Rodgers hosted Metcalf, among other pass catchers, on that bonding week at a ranch out west. Metcalf said that he's going to sacrifice everything, do whatever he's got to do just so he can catch the ball from Rodgers, and he said it made their bond that much deeper. Now, this entire pass-catching group is really close. That's been a huge point of emphasis throughout the offseason. And another point of emphasis that I've seen early in training camp is on those 2-minute drills. In fact, the Steelers opened up today's practice in a scenario where they were at the 2-minute TV timeout. No timeouts coming out of that. They had to drive the field down a touchdown. And when you know it, Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf for 6 in the end zone.
Good stuff. Thanks, Brooke. It seems like bonding week really paid off, and it's no secret that Aaron Rodgers had to get the ball out quickly last year, and he also lacked the deep throw. That is, except for DK Metcalf, who was the Steelers' top receiver last year by a mile. Rodgers' air yards per attempt doubled on throws to DK last year. His first down rate much better because of it. So, Mike, what do you think is a realistic ceiling for this Steelers team and Aaron Rodgers last season?
I hate to be a wet blanket, but 3rd place. You talked about air yards, Molly. Overall for the season, Aaron Rodgers averaged 5.8 yards in terms of air yards per attempt. That was 28th in the league. He's going to be 43 in December. I've been around quarterbacks as they've got older, guys like Vinny Testaverde, Brett Favre, worked with Dan Marino in Miami. Older quarterbacks don't like to get hit. I can't imagine that this offense, a year older now, is going to become more explosive. Aaron Rodgers is not at that point in his career. I think that compresses the field. I like Cincinnati. I like Baltimore. I think those two teams will be able to score more consistently than Pittsburgh will be able to.
Here, Washington was bottom 5 in the league in pass touchdowns, yards per play, and red zone defense. Only the Cowboys and Jets had a less efficient defense last season than the Commanders. First-year defensive coordinator Durante Jones has a big challenge ahead, but as a lifelong fan who grew up nearby, this opportunity means even more.
Really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. What is it like coming home to start the biggest job of your career?
It's a blessing. It's coming full circle. Who would have thought? I grew up watching the Washington Redskins at the time, and I remember my mother let me stay up late for the 1987 Super Bowl to watch Doug Williams win it. Who would have thought years later I have the opportunity to be sitting in this seat, having this title. It's just a blessing, and I thank God every day for this opportunity. And your family support is here. My friends are still here. I went to Morgan State University, which is still somewhat, it's not part of the DMV, but it's still local, But it's been phenomenal.
Now, you were quite a good cornerback coming up in high school. You started out at Temple, you transferred to Morgan State. Unfortunately, you had a neck injury.
I did.
And doctors told you that if you continued to play, it could lead to paralysis.
Yes.
So I'm sure at that time you're thinking, okay, my football career is over. But Stump Mitchell, he said to you, you know what, I'd like you to work with me with the cornerbacks. 20 some odd years later, you're still in coaching. What effect did Stump have on you?
Well, just the opportunity. Speaking with him is why I transferred there and the vision that he had for the program at the time. And we just got to build a good relationship. And, the injury was definitely unfortunate. Did not see that coming. And I stopped going to class. I just stayed in my room. I didn't know how to handle that because what next? And
the pain of it.
And the pain of it, right? And to get me out of that was just be around the team. Just come on out. Just, one of our leaders, the guys respect you, look up to you, just kind of come out and help us out. Just took off from there. It was slow. It was definitely a slow, long process, but it was well worth it. And now I have so much more respect for the profession and just working my way up. I've treasured every step of the way.
I've never met a coordinator in this league who didn't aspire to be a head coach. Maybe you might be the first one, so I'm gonna ask you this question. I know you're focused on your current job, but one day, would you like to be a head coach in this league?
Yeah, it's a goal. If God has that in my plans, it's definitely a goal of mine. I think if opportunities present themselves, would definitely be open to listening. But that doesn't come without, some type of production in this current role.
There were a record 10 openings for head coaches this past year, and only one coach of color was hired. If there's an opportunity in the future, do you think it will be there for you when you're ready?
I think there'll be opportunities in terms of the job openings because there's a lot of turnover in this league. And I think how those opportunities come to life is really based off of the relationships that are built, the relationships that can be established from now to then or whenever that opportunity presents itself, I think can help impact the hiring cycles moving forward.
Everybody talks about you proving yourself, and now you're here, and thank you for it.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
That was such a great conversation. Mike T., you've worked with Durante Jones. What can you tell us about what he'll bring to this defense?
Molly, that was a great piece. What you see is what you get as a person. He was incredibly well thought of, very well respected. He will be game plan specific. It'll look and feel a little bit like Minnesota, where it'll be very multiple. You'll see a double mud look where he'll bring linebackers up. Everyone will bail out. They'll play coverage. Then they'll come out and look like they're playing coverage, and he'll bring the house. So he will make it very hard on the opposing coordinator because he will move guys around. And I think they have some depth now in their front seven, maybe not household names beyond Odofe Owafe, but Clavon Chasen will certainly contribute. Charles Menahu. So again, not ideal, let's say up front with one difference maker, but I do think they have depth in their front seven.
Yeah, the front seven is really improved. I really like this linebacker room in particular. Obviously, they spent their first pick on Sonny Styles, who's going to be the Mike, and that's a massive upgrade. But next to him, they also added Leo Chenal from Kansas City. And Mike, you talked about Brian Flores and the Minnesota defense and how they'd walk up those linebackers and sometimes blitz them, sometimes drop them into coverage. He's another player who's very good and fits that profile. And I think Jones has a ton of weapons to work with in terms of that versatility. I also am very interested in seeing how much this defense actually looks like Minnesota. I mean, it is such a unique defense. Mike, you know this. So different from every other defense in the league in terms of not just how they blitz, but when they blitz on first down, the fact that they play primarily split safety, zone defense coverage behind it. So for Durante, I think it's going to be an interesting challenge. How much of that do you bring over? How much of it do you make your own? How do you fit that to the skills of the players you have? Because the secondary in Washington is still lacking, quite candidly. But I'm really interested in seeing it work out or play out. And I do think they gave him some good pieces to work with up front that'll make his life easier year one.
Yeah, Mina, Jones was in a Viking system that led the NFL in blitz rate every year since 2022. So those new pieces have to love that aggressive style of play.